everyone. I am working on a thrifted shirt that I found in my thrifted shirt tote. It's been there for a while and I like it because it's really lightweight and almost like a seersucker. I mean, it's not. It is like a lightweight shirting. And it had one sleeve, both sleeves cut off, but only one kind of pinned to it. So I think I must have used the other one for probably a pocket or something on a different upcycle. So I only have one part of a sleeve for fabric. And so it is short sleeve, which is fine because it's such a lightweight shirt that I think it's going to be great as a short sleeve. Probably will just roll these up, stitch them, and do something to that. But some of my ideas is I want to do some stenciling on it. I also want to put an applique here of a sailboat. I think that's about all that I've got in mind right now. Might add a little bit of the stencil to the back or something on the yoke, just to kind of tie it together. But that's what I'm going to be working on. I do have picked out a couple things. First of all, I just drew out a very simple sailboat that I'm going to be using as my applique. And this stencil, I originally thought it would be fun to do the whole, it's real abstract, but it kind of reminds me of like a wave. But I'm thinking I might not do that. I might just do part of this and then stick the boat on there, the sailboat on there, and then maybe use the stencil somewhere elsewhere on the shirt. We'll see, but let's get started. I am going to trace these pieces on paperback adhesive. I'll probably use Heat and Bond Light and then cut out my shapes. I have this wood grain brown that I'm going to use for the boat, and then I'm going to use a part of the sleeve and also that piece of red plaid. I'm just laying my Heat and Bond Light over the top, so I have the paper side up, and I'm just tracing this image. I always move it so I don't waste any of the Heat and Bond Light. It's getting to be quite pricey, so I want to make sure I save every bit of it. Once all those are traced, I rough cut them, and then I'll be putting them on the back side of my fabric. And just ironing those on, and then I'll fussy cut these out and cut right on that outlined line. Here's that piece of that sleeve. I cut the cuff off, and I am going to use that cuff for part of my design, but just giving this a good press. And then I'm going to use the actual sail part. I'm going to use this fabric for the sail part. It has a little stripe to it, and I just thought that'd be kind of fun. And one little thing too, I'm just going to put on this red and just this little flag. Using my favorite scissors, and I'll link those down below for you. They're great for cutting out little appliques. They do have I think it's called like a serrated blade, and so it does help eliminate some of the fraying as well. I'm putting this on a piece of Heat and Bond, or excuse me, of Warm and Natural batting. I want a little bit of the batting to show. So you'll see me there. I'm going to cut it, but I'm going to leave a little bit of that showing just to add a little bit more interest to this applique. It's going to give it a little dimension as well. Now I found another stencil and it has a wave to it. So I'm going to use a combination of both of these stencils. I've got my archival inks out. They're just stamp pads, but they are an archival ink and they are waterproof and color fast. And so I'm going to be using those. I have like a rusty colored red that I'm going to use. And now I am doing this right on that cuff. You can see the button there on the left, the button of the cuff. I'm using these makeup brushes just to press that ink through the stencil. Now onto this blue color. and just going to do this wavy part on the stencil. Love the stencil. Subscriber gifted me a bunch of these stencils, and I use them a lot. They're great for backgrounds and just little elements in your designs. Okay, now for the little design that I'm going to do. The little cuff is going to go on the bottom, and I'm going to place this boat. I decided to tuck it right underneath there. And I'm just going to pin these pieces into place until I get to the sewing machine, except for this little flag. That is going to get ironed on right away. That has heat and bond light on the back of it. I found this jute, and I'm going to put that for like the flagpole, or I don't know what you call it, the mask, I guess. That's going to go right down the center there. Jute is washable. I've used it in a lot of my designs. It softens up a bit when it's washed, but it doesn't shrink. So it works really well for an accent on your designs. I'm at my sewing machine, and I'm going to straight stitch all my pieces on. Just going to edge stitch. I have all-purpose thread on in a cream colored. And I'm also using a bobbin thread in my bobbin, which is a little bit lighter weight than the top thread. I do like it for, especially for decorative stitching. I'm just straight stitching here too, but I use bobbin thread for a lot of my work. Also, just straight stitching these little pieces. This could also be zigzagged on. Now back to just finishing this up. I'm going to iron on that little flag and then just lay this piece. I've cut it a little bit longer than I needed, that piece of jute. And I'm going to take this back to my sewing machine, and this time I am going to use a zigzag just to get to zigzag over that piece of jute. And then we'll stitch that flag on and then just cut this jute at the little bit of that I have left over here. So that is all done. Just going to even up these sleeves. I just use my cutting board, the line on that cutting mat, and I always have my sleeve straight across the top. And then it's an easy way to get everything lined up. And then wanting to get the other sleeve the same length, so just going to measure it from the one I've already cut. And again, lining that up on the top with one of the lines on my cutting mat. Lining up the sleeve seam, and then just cutting this one off as well. I'm going to just roll these upwards twice and straight stitch all the way around these sleeves. Got that stitching done, and now I'm going to add a little bit more stenciling to this. I thought it'd be fun just on the top of each of the pockets to do a little bit of the red. And then on that back yoke as well, I'm just going to add a red stencil just above the seam. And there it is. This was another simple design, but I just really love it. I like doing these really quick ones for these upcycled little tops. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. I hope it gave you some ideas. Have a great week. Bye for now.